social justice and civil rights will never allow the fear-mongering that has been attached to candidate Trump's rhetoric to come to fruition. Trump's advisors appear to be floating the idea of a registry for Muslims, and his Attorney General Jeff Sessions argued in favor of a religious test to ban Muslims less than a year ago. So I want to ask you a two-part question. The first part is, are you making a distinction about not having that fear that you wrote about because of the checks and balances within the American institutions and the civil rights that are long practiced in this country? Or are you saying that Trump's rhetoric throughout the campaign and the advisors that he has appointed should not be a cause of concern for Muslims? Which one of those, or both of those, are you saying?
Yeah, and just to give your viewers context, I'm a Muslim, I'm an immigrant, I'm a liberal, and as I noted in that article, I voted for Donald Trump because I do not have this fear. I do not believe that the sky is falling. I know that we have a lot of chicken little.
But why is that? That's what I want to get to. Yeah. Why do you not believe that? Is it because the institutions of America, or is it because you don't believe the things that Donald Trump has said are things to be worried about?
I believe we have a lot of chicken littles running around right now, exaggerating many of the policies that are being talked about. This Muslim registry that has been characterized as something that President put in place that was removed because of the policy of the Obama administration. But this idea that we're seeing on TV of a return to internment camps is far from any reality that would ever be possible in this country. And so what I believe is going to happen is that the rhetoric, as you talk about, will not be realized in the demonic ways that are being presented by partisan politics. And that is what most concerns me as a liberal.
So when you
excuse me for a second, but just what concerns me the most is that as a liberal, what I see happening is that the left has in fact been engaging in a lot of fear-mongering that has not allowed us to come to the middle in our conversation about the next administration.
Okay.
And I see a lot of fear being inflamed very irresponsibly, and that is what really concerns me.
So let's talk about the appointments that that you're seeing President-elect Trump put in place. Michael Flynn, he called, he says he's been at war with Islam for a better part of a decade. He says that he's calling on Arab leaders to denounce their sick Islamic ideology. He said fear of Muslims is rational. So that's nothing that the liberal side or the left side is doing. Those are the words of the people President-elect Trump has elected to put in power. You're saying that those words, those comments from a potential national security advisor do not concern you?
Sounds like a leading question right there, but my friend dear,
I'm just asking, do those words concern you or they don't concern you?
Allow me to answer, is that I believe that for the last 8 years we have failed as the liberal policies of this country in dealing with the issues of Islamic extremism. Michael Flynn is reflecting a reality that is not pretty and that the left and liberals have unfortunately refused to accept because we have been
those words don't concern you?
They do not concern me. And so allow me to also say that
we have a lot of things we want to discuss. I was just trying to get a sense from you if they concern you, they don't concern you.
But I don't want to play, I want to be really careful that your questions suggest then there's a right answer and a wrong answer.
No, not at all. I'm asking you if they concern you. You said they don't concern you as a Muslim.
I believe that the answers lie in the middle, and I don't think that fear on any side is the correct answer.
Okay, fair enough. I respect that. Let me ask you about this. The FBI reports that Muslim hate crimes are up 67% in 2015 compared to the previous year. So what do you say to your fellow Muslim Americans who are fearful they may be targeted following a very intense year of campaigning with a lot of the rhetoric that I just cited for you and a statistical spike in hate crimes against Muslims?
Well, what I want to say to my fellow Muslims is that we are more a target if we refuse to discuss the extremism within our faith.
I'm sorry. I just want to understand that. You're saying the attack on Muslims in America are a result of extremism in Islam and not because of hate crimes that the FBI says are being statistically documented.
To finish my thought, what I'm trying to say is that if people feel fear about Muslims, we do have a responsibility within our communities to acknowledge that fear. We should never accept hate against anyone, absolutely. There is record numbers of hate also being expressed against Jewish people, 4 times more than Muslims. We should be talking about every type of hate in this community, including by Muslims against others. And so what I say to my fellow Muslims is that we need to be part of the middle path. We need to see the tolerance that we we need to express the tolerance that we want to see in the world. And absolutely, everyone should feel safe.
Do you blame Muslims for the hate crimes that are happening against them in this country?
What I do is I blame our Muslim organizations, of which I think you're going to have a guest in just a few minutes, who have refused to acknowledge the issue of extremism. These are funded by the governments of Qatar and Saudi Arabia that have also supported Hillary Clinton's campaign and her own Clinton Foundation. What I feel responsible for as a Muslim is to challenge extremism. So in the Muslim Reform Movement, we take it on very directly.
I'm sorry, with all due respect, you're not answering the question, and I'm sorry to say that, but you're not answering the question. A Muslim woman walking down the street who gets her hijab pulled off her hair, you're saying that's the fault of organizations. You're not even wanting to answer the question about whether or not you are saying there is a rise of hate crimes against Muslims in this country, which the FBI is statistically documenting.
So, I mean, you are so biased in your questions towards me, and I find that really unfortunate.
No, you're just not answering the questions. That's unfortunate because you're not answering the questions.
You're not allowing me to answer it as I wish to answer them. And so, unfortunately, what is happening right now in our conversation is exactly why Hillary Clinton lost the White House. It's this inability of those on the left and liberals to have any kind of tolerance for people with other opinions that don't fit the answers that they want to hear. Jon Stewart speaks about it, the liberal hypocrisy. Nicholas Kristof has talked about the liberal privilege. Of course, no one is responsible if there is hate directed at them personally. What I am talking about is on a very high level sense of ownership that we in our Muslim communities need to have about issues of extremism. We need to own the problem, and then we will realize that people will not feel fear about this quote cancer that they see, all of these big bad words that are being hurled against us. And so let us take responsibility, and everyone should absolutely live safely and peacefully in this world.
All right. Thank you very much, Asra Nomani. And despite that accusation that you made, we still invited you to come on the air to talk about your viewpoints and present your viewpoints. So thank you for coming on.
And I accept it, and I wish well to everyone.
Exactly. Thank you very much for coming on. Joining me now is Zahra Billoo, Executive Director of the San Francisco Bay Area Chapter of the Council on American-Islamic Relations. Zahra, good to have you with us. Let me just get your reaction very quickly to what we were just hearing there from Asra Nomani.
I couldn't make any sense of it, right? I am a civil rights lawyer, and I'm really concerned about what Donald Trump has said, what he has failed to clarify, and the people he has surrounded himself with. I agree that we have a system of checks and balances, but right now we have an executive branch that is going to be led by someone who is openly racist and misogynist and surrounding himself with similar people. We have a Congress that is majority Republican, and they will now together work to fill that opening on the Supreme Court. I'm concerned even about our checks and balances at this point.
And what concerns you about the checks and balances in terms of, like, what is your reaction to any discussion that the Trump administration may be having about introducing some of the things that we are citing there, a registry for Muslims, perhaps even a ban on Muslims, and as you even heard from some of his surrogates?
Here's the thing. A registry for Muslims is something that we saw happen under the Bush administration. Japanese internment is something that our country has done in the past. So these things have been done in the past, and in times of actual or alleged national security crisis, the courts have deferred to the executive branch, and that frightens me, especially here where the executive branch will appoint the opening on the Supreme Court, right? And so could it be done? Will they try it? Yes. Is it unconstitutional? I would argue yes also. Is it counter to our American values? Yes also. And then most importantly, is it effective? No. The last time there was a registry program under the Bush administration, they failed to prosecute any terror charges based on over 80,000 registrations.
Zahra, let me ask you, do you feel that there's a direct connection to Trump's rhetoric and hate crimes against Muslims?
Yes. What we've seen, unfortunately, in the last...
What's the evidence that you see that?
People in America saw that someone who was openly racist, misogynist, Islamophobic, and so on could win the presidency. And unfortunately, his rhetoric, the rhetoric of his advisors, has validated people who might not have otherwise come out of their homes to commit violence. And we've seen a spike in the last 18 months, and then also just in the last 10 days. Over 100 anti-Muslim incidents, across the country, right? And it's individuals who are being targeted in parking lots, children, college students, adults. Right now, it's happening everywhere.
All right, Zahra Billoo from the Council.